I would now like to invite our moderator for this session, once again, Mr. Byju Joseph, CTO Future Generali India Insurance. Can we please put our hands together? May I also invite Mr. Kunal Kathpal, Chief Risk Officer, Hinduja Leyland Finance Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please let us do a good job and put our hands together. I would also like to invite Mr. Shaik J. Ahmed, Vice President, Head of Information Security Risk and Governance, Mashreq Bank. And finally, Mr. Krishana Kumar A, Chief Manager, IT, Dhanlaxmi Bank. You know, there is a kahawat in Hindi, and I'd like to say that here, that is, taaliyon mein kanjoosi nahi karte. Can we please not be a miser with our appreciation? Please put our hands together for our esteemed panel. Over to you, Byju, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, guys, and let's begin. The ever-evolving risk landscape, okay, and emerging technology. The emerging technology leaves us with a lot of emerging innovators in the fraud areas, as well as coupled with the natural disasters. And are we getting many messages every day saying that your electricity is going to go down tomorrow if you don't pay it now. So from consumers' perspective, we are the one which actually sit on the fundamentals of trust, the banking and the entire BFSI. We are facing so many challenges to manage risk and ensuring that the trust is established with all my entire, the people in the villages, especially Tier 3, Tier 2 cities. So here, I'm thankful that we are waiting on the panel with a very esteemed, experienced people who are managing the technology, and they are leveraging the technology to manage the risk. Let me start with all of you together. Actually, COVID actually helped to penetrate into the every areas of India. We leverage technologies to simplify their life, but it's also emerged a lot of risk, a lot of frauds, a lot of things. I want to really hear from all of you how you managing things, these emerging risk in your organizations, or probably industrially, even in a general manner. So I'll start with Kunal. Okay, please share your experience. This will be asked to everyone. Please share your experience.
Sure. Thank you so much, Byju, and greetings to my fellow panelists and to the audience. I would first like to thank the Elets team for having me over here, and they're doing a wonderful job so far to organize this in a very well manner. The views that I will be sharing over here are my personal views and not the views of my organization. So this is the first risk management that I typically do everywhere. So as far as the COVID scenario is concerned, and how digitized India became during the COVID scenario, that is a story which is also applicable on us as an organization. We also grew digitally in this period. There was anyways limited disbursements which were happening, so we had to focus on increasing our digital footprint. Now, to explain you that, let me give you a 15 to 20 second background about the company that we have and the kind of customer base that we service, and then you will be able to relate to it. So we are Hinduja Leyland Finance, who service or who basically lend to a customer segment for commercial vehicles, most of it, and to affordable housing customers, and a bit of personal customers, which is two-wheelers. This is my largely, my company's, customer base. Out of this, 78 to 79% of the customer base is first-time buyer, first-time user, or new to credit customer. Now, imagine a truck driver or an auto rickshaw driver, and we are talking about digital footprint. How do we connect with these people? So, it became difficult because, traditionally we've been connecting through these people through our business teams. So there is a person who will do sourcing for this customer, and the same person will also collect from this customer, because it is easier for him to relate to a relationship guy and to maintain that relationship instead of sales team, collections team and all that. So we believe that traditional orthodox model works. Now, when we did the digital footprint, we launched a mobile app called HLF Connect, which was a self-service app for this kind of a customer base. And when we were launching this app, we realized that, it's not important to launch the app. It is important to basically connect with that customer and teach him to use the app. Because that was the problem. Even if we launched the app, there was no penetration which was happening. So our people now, instead of, the customer calling him and saying, I need my NOC, we used to tell him, you please download this app from the Play Store, put in your mobile number as a registered mobile number, and then, you will be able to do some security checks and then do this thing. Half of the customers used to call back the person and say, come to my home and do a login for me. So it had to be taught to them and, explain to them that, there are risks which are associated, with you not understanding the entire thing and, and how to use the mobile app. So that is one example. The other extent is when you're opening your digital, data to outside world through this mobile app and, some of the other API connects, you're also inviting, the digital demons, which we call as, the cyber frauds which are happening and other things. So we maintain 3 layer of security, parameter over there to control that. And over and above that, we do a lot of, self-assessment activities like ethical hacking and phishing exercise. Because again, to treat to that kind of a customer, we also have an employee base which is also not very tech savvy. So you have to basically explain to that employee base what is, phishing. If you click over here, you will, you can go to somewhere where you will be exposing the company data, because through your port, somebody else will get into our things. So we have to do really an activity from a grounds up level to maintain this entire thing. Thank you.
Shaik, what do you say?
Yeah, thank you, Byju. Good afternoon, all. First of all, thank you very much for Elets for providing this opportunity to be part of this Elite panel, and a great event like this, very focused towards the banking and financial industry. And Byju, thank you for a brilliant question. In fact, like it's very relevant to the situation where we are right now in. On top of it, okay, let me take this question in 2 parts. One from an operational point of view, and second from a security point of view, security risk point of view. About me, myself, Shaik, I take care of the risk and governance for one of the Middle East-based bank. But the views expressed here would be my personal and professional views, not related to my organization or any organization for that sake. So the COVID actually, as Kunal has mentioned, given an accelerated jump into the technological advancement, especially into the digitization. Everyone wanted to feel the presence of digital being, like as part of the like a lockdown and the COVID-19 normal situations. Since like majority of the organizations never imagined that like they will have a situation where they need to be part of the cloud, or they need to be part of the online, they need to have their online presence and all, brick and mortar shops actually. So I was part of a manufacturing giant then. We never had more than 10% of the workforce working from home. It was not required actually, since like being in a manufacturing domain, that time like it was a belief that like if a person is in the office, then he is there. If he's not there, then there is no like meaning of working from home or online presence kind of a thing. Every meeting used to be physical, very formal meeting kind of a thing. And the COVID has pressed us to be 100% online and work from home digital presence actually. So the core firewalls of the security of the organization has transformed into the 4 walls of the bedrooms. So we needed to throw away the systems into the everyone's labs and all those things, and the security has taken a back step. So when the COVID situation in the peak of the first phase, so it was a situation like where we are trying to digitize everyone, we are trying to keep everyone online, and whenever like you, as a CISO or as a head of security, as a head of governance, when you talk about governance and enterprise risk and all, the CEOs and the operational, okay, we'll see later. So that was the situation. So that's how the COVID has pressed us into maintaining a balance between the security and the operational efficiency. So that's the thing. And from a security perspective, yes, as per a study, almost 300% the attacks and the hacks and the data breaches has risen within a span of 2 to 3 quarters in the mainstream COVID actually, first phase. And almost every organization has had the, like I might say, the honeymoon with a small or big kind of a data breach or any small incident where either advertently or inadvertently either employees leaking or like the data is being exposed or someone has keeping the data on some social platform and all these things has happened actually. But like the time will heal everything and the situations will press us to learn many things and gradually like these security professionals and the enterprise risk professionals has created some novel and noble platforms and standards which helped us to cope with the present day requirements of digital transformation and the modernizations of technology and keeping everyone online actually. So now we have everything in control and majority of the technologies are brought into the scope of enterprise risk management and the platforms. So
Great,
this
great.
is one experience. Thank you.
Krishna, quickly share your experience too, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Elets Technomedia, for the invitation. And I'm glad to be here and pleasure to interact with you all. A very pleasant good afternoon. I know it is so late to have a lunch, it's a lunch time. So I will try to skew my words. See, here the context is whether the percentage of digital transactions has increased post-pandemic period. Yes, the percentage of digital transactions when compared to the pre-pandemic period has increased a lot and associated because every pros has its own cons. So likewise, the cybersecurity incidents has also proportionately increased. And in my view that, see, a lot of all financial institutions, including ours, have also started enabling our customers or rather empowering our customers through various notifications, the do's and don'ts also, I mean, including the customer meets that we always conduct. Okay, so we also mention about, see, these are all the do's and these are all the don'ts, so that the customer also will get aware. A brief presentation also will also be provided also. So it is a matter of what I can say is the customer awareness, I believe. I mean, when we are serving the modern customers, also we are also expanding our business. While we are expanding our business, the rural sector also. So we have to take them also into the consideration. So that is a one point. And the second one is, see, we have also to ponder upon how resilient our systems are. Whether our systems are adequately skilled up to handle more volume of the transactions. So that also has to be thought by each and every financial institution who are extending digital transactions, or rather, by focusing to improve the percentage of digital transactions. So,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
Krishna, stay there. So I have wanted a deep question because identity threat is the one area where everyone is facing.
Yes.
And synthetic identity, which is fraudsters use the real names, real pictures, even your face. So synthetic identity become a major, issues today. Now I basically wanted to ask you questions. What are the technology you use or leverages to ensure to, be proactive or probably at least try and prevent in these threats and identities? if you can just elaborate on that, because I'm just catching up on your last
Sure.
point.
Yes. Happy to take this question. See, actually, identity, I will brief with an example. Now, mobile number has become an identity for each and every individuals, right? So we possess one or many other mobile numbers. Say, whenever we are closing the mobile number or surrendering the mobile number, are we informing our financial institutions? Because, see, there are a lot of occasions where the mobile numbers are get allotted to after a cooling period, say 90 days. See, there are every chances that the mobile numbers get allotted by the respective ISPs, to the telecom providers, to the other customers. So are we providing those details to the financial institutions? Right. So, because see, I understand that TRI used to provide a mobile number revocation list. So, where I call upon every organization to utilize that and verify your database whether is there any closed down, mobile numbers which the customers has not intimated you. So, make a verification, intimate the customers. See, otherwise, no, what will happen is the flip side is whenever there is any transaction happens, the OTP goes to the wrong hands. The transaction details, ATM transactions, everything is going to the wrong customer. So if the customer happens to be having some malintention, so there is every chances of perpetrating the fraud.
Thanks, Krishna. Kunal, I have some deeper questions. Fake faces. Just connecting back to the fake faces, fake identity again. And do you believe the past legacy, risk management processes which you still follow, we need to follow, regulators force you to follow as well? And the current risk solution is able to prevent or not, let's be forget about prevent, will you be able to defend these? Because these are the future way of, fraudsters using and leveraging this to crack the system. The lending, the number of lending cases become made it easy. Look at the process which we had our presenter list before. The APIing everything, just plug and play and start. How do you cope up with these technology evolutions with the current risk and fraud management technologies?
Simple answer. It's when you do fraud management, and I will use the reference of my fellow panelist, what he said on creating an environment which is risk-based decision environment, where, like he said, during the COVID period, they wanted to put certain security parameters before the machines are going from the office environment to an home environment. But in the executive discussions, people are saying that can wait. Right now, we want to do this thing and that thing. So, what are we trying to say? That for any kind of risk-based decision to happen, people want the risk to occur and then they want to learn. So, like I said, the simple answer is it's a cat and mouse game. Every time in the last 21 years, I've been hearing that fraudsters are one step ahead. Why are fraudsters one step ahead? Because they don't have anybody to question that why they are investing in new technology and new learnings. They are learning new things, they implement new things, they fail or sometimes they get success. We instead, when we as risk team, we are basically typically seen as villains, a lot of times, or road blockers. I typically produce a case, of risk being a critical friend than a road blocker, or a person who wants to stop the progress, or you want to become, instead of being a full stop, I want to use risk function as a speed breaker, so that you check your brakes and then you go ahead. So what I mean to say is that they are learning fast and implementing. We learn from the fraud events which happen and then we implement. So that is the reason, why even today, they have got ahead in the data-based frauds that they're doing. So they don't send SMSs to everybody, just like that. They send to targeted people. They have their own segmentation. And why am I saying they? Because we read through a lot of case studies of people who have been caught. You see the web series of Jamtada. It's not like a random thing which is happening. They're targeting people and then they know their success rates, and that's how they're planning things. So we, in the other hand, we are also now basically using a lot of data-based fraud management assessments. And instead of putting fraud management tools which are applicable to all, which will be there, which will be those generic tools which will be there, but we kind of put those tools which are more doing surgical strikes kind of a thing on the segments. So for example, I know in a particular area, in a particular segment of my business, there are a lot of fraud trends that have been seen. So my fraud management unit, whenever they're doing a sampling, they will do a sampling more from that area, just giving you one example, which is relevant. And, they will obviously have to take risk in some of the other areas, because today also, if you want to invest in fraud management tools, you have to put a business case. And the biggest problem over there in that business case is something called a CBA. I cannot do a cost benefit analysis for a future fraud which may occur, and I may stop it because I'm doing this investment today. Either we have to be future ready, or we have to face the brunt.
Good, Kunal. I mean, it's great to know that you're taking greater step, if not ahead of fraudsters, at least catching up with them. And Mashreq, I would like to come to you. Data breach, dark web, these all are the terms which a common man, look at it. And all the other side, our lenders and, EC, BNPL is bringing money to me on the side. I don't know, all things will land up where. But how do you leverage data? Because data is the oil, that's what we hear of it from everywhere. How do you protect that assets, one? Second is, how do you leverage, like Kunal said, past incidents? All, across the industry, you hear many things. How do you ensure that we are a bit ahead of the game, leveraging data, AI, MLs, or any other machine models, etc., etc.? I would like to hear from you as well.
Very brilliant question, Byju, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak on this one. First of all, data is not oil. Some other speaker has mentioned that data is a gold god today. Actually, that's a very right notation. And in terms of using and leveraging the data to build the secure models of securing the data is a phenomena which is happening here right now. So basis the patterns, we can harness the the available emerging technologies like artificial intelligence or machine learning to adapt to the trends, whatever the organization need to have as a normal. And on top of it, if any deviation from the way the data is being accessed, stored, or transferred, or made the data from a dynamic state to static state to dynamic state, can be red flagged and can be curtailed and controlled to have that data is being protected inside the organization without leaking it outside. And here, the biggest advantage of building a risk-based models and securing the data is the artificial intelligence and machine learning. There are a lot many tools, lot many use cases. And how do we learn and how do we do these things is having the collaboration between the internal organizations and the similar kind of peer organizations to know their experience of the past breaches and create a use case, a pattern-based use case, so that can be adapted across or otherwise inside the internal organization, so that we can build a futuristic risk-based model standard, so to have the governance around the data. And on top of it, the best thing is how we are any of the modern technology banking organization is securing their data is having the right kind of the registers or DLT-based tools to register and to take a note of when the data is being accessed. Is the role or the attributes are correct for accessing this data or not? And on top of it, having the right kind of encryption tools, anonymizing, masking, and even in the data in dynamic state that is in transit also need to have the encryption, a mill-grade encryption, and also have the right governance control around the visibility of the data internally and externally. Sure. Thank you, Byju.
I think the panelists conclude mostly. Okay, while I come to your 1 minute conclusion, what I understand, automation is the key for future of preventions or arresting the fraudster, not arresting, probably at least cope up with fraudulent, and leverage the emerging technology to our advantages, but risk and risk management is not of the past, looking at the past, being running with the pace, the way the technology changes. And Krishna, what is your 1 minute conclusions to the audience?
In a nutshell, see, as Mr. Kunal has rightly pointed out, see, we have to strengthen our internal fraud risk management practices or even the solution with the future AI-driven technologies. So, because see, whenever the customers have started using this or getting adopted into the digital platform, see, we can expect or we should expect more number of cyber incidents. Only thing is that with a stable platform, a resilient system only, we will be able to curb those. Okay, I'm not saying that we will be able to vanish it completely, but only we will be able to curb those. And see, in a nutshell, see, in my thought, see, a proper awareness, conducting every, because it is not that we have to, do it, on a single instance. It has to be a continuous process. The customer has to be notified. And we, as a financial institution, we have to implement secured systems. A necessary source code review has to be performed. See, whenever we are deploying any critical systems. Then one more point Mr. Shaik has pointed out is with respect to the encryption of that. So we should make sure that all the PIA data, like the customer's sensitive data, is getting encrypted or getting masked. And the foremost is the data in transit, whichever that we passes to the customer has to be necessarily be masked, only few information, so that any wrong hands should not misuse that. So this is my ending note.
And Shaik, anything about standardization between all of you? Do you collaborate?
I believe we all spoke about securing the data by increasing the governance and upping the ante around the controls of risk. And one last thing which I wanted to add on top of what my fellow panelist has mentioned is bring the risk tech with all these emerging technologies, so that things can be secure enough, and the risk posture of the organization is bright actually. Thank you.
Kunal, defense in deep tech, okay, deep fakes, many things have been talked about. So what is your 1 minute conclusion on that? How do you people crop up?
No, I'll take that question in a second, but to answer your previous question, whether you guys collaborate, the single word answer is I wish. There is no such unified database on operational losses where one can learn from each other, which is available today through a secured source or a source, organized source, where we as NBFCs or banks or private banks, public banks, we can all rely. We all we have different sources. Like we today take operational risk events from a company which is based out of UK. Now UK operational risk event is somehow similar, but a lot of times not related to how it happens. So therefore my humble appeal there would be that there should be one unified data source which should be there, where we can learn from each other and replicate those scenarios in our business to understand how operational risk events have occurred in the past. Because if you see large failures which have happened in the financial services sector, they're all related to people, process and system failures. And we have to learn from them to see where, how deep are we within this particular issue or a problem. And if we believe we want to do something, we can only do once we identify the problem.
Thank you, Kunal. I think defense in depth required. A lack, we need to overcome the lack of standards across the industry. We need a lot of regulatory support. We need to ensure that we at least collaborate each other, share information to each other. The lack of our coordination exploited by the interested parties, fraudsters. They leverage technologies to their advantage. They leverage technology to target the financials or richest or maybe poorest, everyone in India. And the panel conclude. Thank Thank you for this wonderful time.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all of our panelists for such an incredible session on shedding light into the future of fraud defense. I would now request once again Dr. Ravi Gupta, CEO and Editor-in-Chief, the Banking and Finance Post, to please come on stage and present a memento to our presenters. First to Mr. Byju Joseph, CTO, Future Generali India Insurance. Can we please put our hands together, everybody? Next, may we please present a memento to Mr. Kunal Kathpal, Chief Risk Officer, Hinduja Leyland Finance Limited. So if you could just remain behind for a group photo, please. Next, may we please present a memento to Mr. Shaik J. Ahmed, Vice President, Head of Information Security Risk and Governance, Mashreq Bank. And finally, may we please present a memento to Mr. Krishana Kumar A, Chief Manager, IT, Dhanlaxmi Bank. Can we now have a group photo, please? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a wonderful session.